Hey, good morning, everyone. It's so great to see so many of you here with us today. My name is Carolina Mandalos, and I'm one of the customer success managers here at Unibuddy, and I'm joined by my colleague Alice.
And hi, I'm Alice. So I'm a UPE University Partnership Executive at Unibuddy. So I just take care of getting people on board on Unibuddy, especially in Europe. But we're super excited to be here today and talk about online and offline campuses. So
yeah, it'd be great to see if you could all just write down on the chat before we get started on where you're logging in from, just to kind of get an idea of who's joining us today. And then in a couple of minutes, we'll start sharing a presentation with you all to get ready for our workshop. Cool. Hi, Kim. Hi, Andy. Lovely to have you here. That's fabulous. Hi, Alva.
Oh, somebody from France. Really
yeah. So great to see so many of you here so early on in the morning. I definitely have my big cup of coffee with me here today. Hi, Calista. Perfect. Hi, Brandon. Hi, Joe. Great. So what we're going to do now is just share some slides with you, and we're going to have a bit of an interactive session throughout the workshop today. So just to share the slides with you all, let's hope I can do this as smoothly as I possibly can. Fabulous. So our session today will be on online and on-campus supercharging your hybrid event strategy. Before we go on to the workshop, we thought it'd be great just to do a brief introduction from both of us today, just so you can understand a bit more on what we do here at Unibuddy. So I'll pass over to Alice first.
Thank you. So as I said, I work as a Unibuddy partnership executive. I started a little less than a year ago, right after graduating in London from a master's degree, and really love Unibuddy. I really would have wished that I could have had something like that, something similar when I went to university. So it's great to be part of a project that I really believe in, and I'm super excited about our workshop today. So
cool. And as I said earlier, my name is Carolina, and I joined the Unibuddy team back in April in the middle of lockdown, which is very interesting, and find myself in the office today, which is great. I joined having been in a customer success role beforehand, but my background is 4 years within higher and tertiary education, working both at Queen Mary University of London and here in the UK and in Spain. I work with customers in the UK region as well as the Nordic and Southern Europe region as well. And my role really is to make sure that the customers that we work with can get the best use out of the platform, helping them with their strategy, the data they're able to pull from the platform, and just know how to better position the platform in terms of their students and make sure that they're constantly reaching their KPIs. So what we're going to go through today is what did customers do before COVID, and how did customers pivot during COVID, how to make the best out of your hybrid strategy for 2021, and then at the end we'll wrap up with some key lessons. So I'll now pass over to Alice to run the first part of the session.
Great. So I'm going to talk a bit about what our customers and partners did before COVID and before everything kind of questioned everything we had in place already. So, sorry, can you get the next slide, please, Carolina? Yep. Cool. So we've seen that, universities that I've talked with a lot, and Carolina have talked with, do three main things. So first of all, it's face-to-face events, so open days, open houses, applicant days, recruitment days, just a lot of offline physical sessions where students can come and visit the university and make their decision from there. Then a lot of people I talk to also have student ambassador schemes in place, and these ambassadors or student representatives are more often used on open days, and sometimes do have an online presence, which is great because that's all what we're all about, peer-to-peer, which brings me on to the third thing, which is you know, universities have really started to buy into the whole peer-to-peer. They've seen, you know, that it's essential. So that's why they have all these ambassadors in place and student helpers. And we've seen that they've, you know, slowly started to move to digital platforms such as chatbots and live chats, for example. So in the next slide, I'm just quickly going to show a little video that we thought was very interesting with Carolina, which is St. John's University chatbot on the main screen. So I'm just going to let Carolina show you the video and talk you through it afterwards. Okay, so just to clarify, so we just chatted on with the chatbot just to ask a basic question that, you know, potentially any student could ask. What is the nightlife like on a Friday? Because, you know, social life is also a really important aspect of going to uni. And St. John University is now one of our partners, as we, you know, contacted them saying, you see, when you go to the chatbot, they're not unable to answer the student question, and so now you'll be redirected to an ambassador, which is something that we thought worked really, really well, and kind of shows this move of universities going online and really understanding the importance of peer-to-peer and engaging with them on their websites and etc. So next slide, please, Carolina. Mm-hmm. So just a couple of numbers about, you know, digital, the scale of the digital generation that we now have. So we've seen in our studies that 82% of students and, you know, young people are spending more time on their smartphones, and 58% of them are spending more time on social media. And 62% of them are spending more longer on messaging services. So it was really important for us and really key to integrate this sort of, you know, user-friendly technology with Unibuddy, this chat device that was, you know, very easy for them to use, very intuitive and very natural. And this is what we really see with the example of the St. John's University, where, you know, they go online to chat intuitively, and then, you know, this robot is not unable to answer them. So that's why we think, you know, Unibuddy plays a great role in helping them in terms of decision making when it comes to university.
Cool. Thanks so much for that, Alice. We'd now like to open it up to the floor. So we wanted to ask you this question and get you all to kind of answer on the main chat on what your answer would be. But we're really keen to understand a bit more on what your recruitment strategies were before COVID hit. So we've got 4 different options here. Option A being open days, option B being student ambassadors, option C being chatbots or live chats, option D being social media posts. It'd be great if you could just input the letters of those strategies that you're working with beforehand, just so we can learn a bit more from each other on the chat box.
Also, if any of you are doing something completely different, we're super keen on hearing what you guys had already in place before COVID hit. We're always interested in learning from our partners and from prospects. So
definitely. Fab. We're getting some A's, D's. Great.
Just a mix of everything, pretty much.
Yeah.
Great.
That's great. And if you could choose one thing that you think is a key learning from all of those, or one thing that stood out to you all about running those particular strategies, what would you say it is?
I think open days were a really big thing, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't know any university that I've checked out when I was trying to make my decision making in terms of like university where they didn't have an open day. That's always great.
Yeah, and utilising a lot of ambassadors at the open days as well. Kim's mentioned as well following social media trends, which nowadays is incredibly important. Student ambassadors, great point. Yeah, so both Brandon and Joe mentioned student ambassadors. Yeah, TikTok. Is anyone using TikTok at the moment? I still don't know how to use it myself, but that's great.
It's just great to see people using ambassadors pretty much in every kind of recruitment strategies. That's like the best way, I think, to do it. But
yeah, definitely. 100% agreed. Fab. So we're going to move on to the next part of the workshop. Thank you so much for all of you sharing those amongst everybody. So how did customers pivot during COVID? So what we've got here are a few key figures from our customers that we've been able to pull from all our data from March until present. So we've seen a 139% increase in unique conversations across the platform. So those are individual conversations happening between prospects and ambassadors. 330% increase in staff training, which has resulted in a lot more staff being on the platform. So for those of you who have been with Unibuddy for a while, or those of you who are new to Unibuddy, we started off as a student peer-to-peer platform, but now we have a lot of staff members that are also on the platform. So whether it's your international team, your admissions team, or even a lecturer from a specific department. We've had a total of 7,545 number of Unibuddy live events since March, which is just fantastic. And that again is a result of customers pivoting during these times. We've had a 900% increase in the use of Unibuddy live events, and 42% of current prospects across the entire Unibuddy platform, across all our customers, currently sign up to the platform to speak to the ambassadors through Unibuddy Live. So that is, apart from having the main platform on the website, there are other traffic drivers that can drive traffic to signing up and converting prospects into leads. And the majority and the main part of that prospect sign up has been down to Unibuddy Live. So that's been a really good success point there. In terms of some common customer successes over the last period of time, we've seen that customers, students and staff have pivoted very quickly to virtual and online resources, sometimes within a couple of weeks, taking open days that were due to happen the following week, getting on board with Unibuddy and just getting that open day done virtually. As a result of these online events, customers have been able to run tailored, smaller targeted events, offering more personalized experiences. So almost like at your open day where you have different breakout rooms, having those tailored events and kind of thinking around the flexibility on that. In terms of lead generation, Unibuddy Live specifically has increased lead generation conversion by more than 50% across many customers. Just to give you a bit of an idea and a figure of what a good conversion percentage looks like, a good one to aim for is about 13%. So that is a massive difference in terms of seeing that success come through. And peer-to-peer is more important than ever as prospects have sought real human connections. So it's great to see so many of the events and so many of the strategies that customers have been working on. However, on the flip side, there have been some challenges. The first, and I guess the main one being, how can we take this approach digitally, and how can we make that happen in a COVID-19 world? Regular travel recruitment is cancelled, so what does that mean for now and for the future? And how can we continue creating genuine and honest experiences online, which require even more pre-planning and attention to specific student wants and needs? So what we thought we'd quickly show you is some kind of case studies around what we're seeing. Peer-to-peer, again, as mentioned in the previous slide, it has become more important than ever. I thought we would just show a couple of snapshots from some conversations between prospects and students. So this is a snapshot from our platform where you can see the prospect labeled as the P initial and the colored circle. As you can see, these conversations are very human, very personal, and that's exactly what peer-to-peer contact is all about. As you can see in one of these images, one of the prospects was so happy with talking to the ambassador that they want to hang out with them when they get back onto campus, which is such a nice feeling and nice and rewarding experience for a lot of prospects and ambassadors. So just thought it would highlight that slightly for you there. And again, all of you are using the Unibuddy Live platform at the moment, as well as our virtual open days platform there as well. And as you can see, all of this peer-to-peer content can be done digitally. It enhances and engages prospects as well. And just thought we'd show you a couple of examples there. And then share some key university stats. So some of these customers I work with directly. And these are some really interesting stats that we've seen over the last few months. And what we've done for the purpose of this is just anonymize those universities. So we have University A, University B, and University C. The first university, 80% of students said they'd be more inclined to attend the university following the virtual open days. For the second university, 60% plus in sign-up conversion was a result of holding an international student open day. As part of that International Student Open Day, they had the live stream, just like we're having today. And to get 60% plus in terms of sign-up conversion is just absolutely through the roof, which is amazing to see. And in terms of University C, one particular university, so University C, ran over 140 Unibuddy Live events over the space of a day. And that was held at the beginning of June to tailor certain sessions. And as a result of that particular event, where they had all those different events running, the platform found a 142% conversion alone on that one day. So like I said before, a really good conversion to be aiming for is 13%. So 142 is just absolutely incredible. And that's a result of how customers have been able to pivot during these times.
Thank you so much, Carolina. I think that stat at the end was crazy. I mean, 140 events. So we just kind of want to open up the floor to you guys again and ask how you adapted your recruitment strategies during COVID. So we have 4 options here. A, virtual events, B, chatbots, C, Zoom calls to prospective students, and D, an increase in your social media presence. Also, if you guys have done anything differently and have new things that you've done to adapt during COVID that we haven't mentioned here, we'd be so happy to hear about this. So A, virtual events.
Great, combination again.
Yeah. And I guess my question would be, what option out of these 4 options, I guess, were the most effective? Virtual events.
Mm-hmm.
Zoom calls.
Yeah. I feel like we've all become experts with Zoom calls.
Amazing.
Cool, so much coming through, that's amazing.
Awesome. So maybe we can go to the next section, which is kind of what we've learned from the COVID period and how we are looking to make the best out of what the key lessons learned, and trying to apply them to what we're thinking about doing and what our partners are thinking about doing for 2021. So I'm going to use, we've decided to use this example of Lund University, who have done such a great job in changing their way of doing and digitalizing their way of doing in terms, and using Unibuddy as well for their recruitment strategy for 2021. So what they've done a range of things, so from student involvement videos and podcasts, so really engaging their students, sorry, and using a chatbot as well, but using it as a directional gatekeeper, so always redirecting to students and ambassadors when questions were a bit more like the one that we asked on that chatbot at St. John's University. They've also conducted over 80 virtual fairs with Unibuddy Live, and they've done regional events, very focused events, and a lot more digital interactions during those fairs. They've really these are London universities where they've really seen the importance of peer-to-peer connection, and they've used their buddies in an amazing way. So they've had Unibuddy office hours for prospective student ambassadors. So I think this could be like similar to like the Zoom calls that we were talking about, just really connecting with them and having that face-to-face interaction, even though it's digital, which I think is great. Because what the key lessons learned here is that your current students are your best marketeers, and this is what I say to every university I go on the phone with. This is what weighs in the balance when they're making their decision. And now we've also encouraged universities to also have alumni on the platform, which is so great always to hear from a student who's been there and who's graduated and what they're doing afterwards. So I think this is a great way to kind of connect all of that. We've asked Lund to give us their best tips on how to use Unibuddy and how to digitalize their recruitment strategies and be more hybrid for 2021. So the first tip was to create a lot of student-informed digital content. So really, they focus on the fact that don't just create content just to fill out the gap, just to create content. Use your student resources. Ask your ambassadors what they would want to hear, what they would want to see. Ask people signing up to on the ambassador page. Really use that student voice that you can have in place digitally. Also, every role is important in experience creation. So really get all of your teams involved. The team that deals with visas, scholarships, everybody has to be in those conversations, because every question is important for those students, especially when we talk about international students. I think they need to have so many different opinions and different aspects that are taken into account when they come to university. And lastly, use your ambassadors wisely and thoroughly. So as I said before, they're your most important marketing tools. So really utilize them. They're always super enthusiastic about, praising their university, talking about their university, and helping new students get on board. So yeah, go ahead and use your ambassadors wisely. So like I said, get different stakeholders involved. Just to recap, target existing prospects and trial different types of event to suit that audience. So we've seen, with the success of Unibuddy Live events, for example, it's so important to have really focused and really targeted events. So for example, London University have told us that they've done, an international student live Q&As or a student ambassador focus session. That's always great to have. And then workshop like this one is always great to share back best practices with different staff members or ambassadors, just to share and learn for future events. Really ask your ambassadors what they think about the events. Really ask the staff that you're involved in those events what they think. It's always great to learn to make your events better for the future. And lastly, we have a great network on LinkedIn called the Unibuddy LinkedIn HE network, where we always have partners and ourselves sharing best practice and sharing some screenshots of what we've learned. So it's always great to have that community there always when you need it.
Great. And just again to add, it's really it's been incredible to see how many customers have engaged with each other and learned from each other, especially through these really uncertain times. So I would definitely join our LinkedIn network. If you haven't found it, or if you can't find it, please reach out to one of us and we'll be happy to direct you and add you to that group as well. Or even speak to your colleagues in other institutions if they're part of it, and ask them how to get involved. I think that's a really key thing out of this, so that we're all in this together and we can help each other out with the times to come. So now we'd love to hear what you've planned for 2021. We've got a few options here. So the first one being going back to what you did before COVID. Second one being going fully digital and what that means. And it would be lovely to hear some examples on what that means as well for you guys. A mix of offline and online events, or Unibuddy. And again, like we said previously, we'd love to hear a bit more if you're doing anything else that isn't on this list. And then, yeah, just share it on the chat, and then it'll be good to learn from each other. Fab. Great. We can see people signing up already. That's fab. But what we're gathering here is that it's mainly a mix of offline and online events. Great. And kind of just thinking about this hybrid approach and having a mixture between offline and online, is there like one thing that you're aiming to get out of that approach? If you could choose anything, what would that be?
Yes, Kim, love to see some options.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anybody.
That's great. Fab. So what we'll do now then is just move over to some key lessons. So if I go on to the next slide. So some tips from us really. The first one being, with everything going forward, to ensure that you have regular and focused events. So at every stage of the recruitment process, or region specific, or even subject specific, having different themes. So tap into those unique interests and the needs of different groups. Learn from the ambassadors on what they are getting, what kind of messages they're getting from their prospects, and you know, use that to the best of your ability in that sense. Creating a sense of community and belonging, which is just so important right now. So again, coming back to that idea of tailored events, so having regular and small scale events as well. You don't have to have a really, really big event with lots and lots of different chat rooms or feeds. You know, it may just be that you need a smaller event for a particular cause. And personalized contact and guidance. So staff and student engagement online, reassuring prospects throughout the recruitment journey, and making sure that there is that reassurance constantly happening.
So, you know, this year has also really challenged us to think outside the box, I think. So really be creative and be prepared for your students to be searching for creativity. They're going to be looking for it. They don't want, you know, the standard version that they had pre-COVID. So throw away the rule book, be flexible, and adapt to that student voice and to what they're suggesting and to what they are asking from you, and what they need. That's really key here. You know, going digital has also made us more aware of the international market. I think a lot of people I talk to on the phone definitely reach out to us because, you know, Unibuddy is a great tool, and, you know, digitalizing is a great way to connect with those international students. So virtual events, especially, it's so important for them. They can't always access or, you know, travel, especially these days, to come to an open day. So it's really important to have those events in place for them to attend. And, you know, try to target different groups in your event, definitely. You know, it's not only students that are having questions about, you know, studying abroad. Parents are also really worried, guardians and key influencers. So it's always great to have different channels and different targeted audiences. And also use different channels on your live events as you would have different stands of information on a physical event. So, you know, we always tell our partners to have, you know, multiple channels with different topics, you know, and we've put a bit of example of channels that we have. So, you know, visa and immigration, finance, you know, residences, an academic channel, and then, you know, sports and clubs to have more leisure in there. So yeah, it's always great to have a variety of different topics. Yeah, it's great to hear that you're doing parent sessions. I think that's great, Jo.
Yeah, and I guess to add to that as well, in terms of examples of tailored sessions, like we said on the, in our previous slides, feel free to tap into the network and ask what other customers are doing in terms of those tailored sessions. So I've seen a lot of customers run sessions for specific regions, and those regions may have been particularly affected by border closures or more complicated immigration processes as a result of COVID. So having almost checking points in a region every so often, just to keep prospects updated on what the situation would be if they were to start studying this in this term, for example, or having international student inquiry days, or like Joe's mentioned here on the chat, having parent sessions for parents also to have that reassurance in terms of what's going to happen for their children when they do start at university, and what that will look like. So again, make sure to really tap into what other institutions are doing, and then learn from each other on that point. And on to some more tips, really. Communication is key, and I think that's definitely what needs to resonate through all of this, and it resonates through everything that customers have been doing to pivot during these times. So students will always need reassurance, guidance, and support more than they ever have needed before. But apart from your prospect students needing that reassurance, your ambassadors will also need reassurance. A lot of them will be second, third, fourth, fifth-year students who may be doing more of an online return to campus. And they may also need reassurance in terms of what the best thing to say in terms of advice is, in terms of what to expect. So, making sure that communication is always there. It doesn't have to be the most perfect set out approach, but as long as you're communicating, that is absolutely imperative. Dedicated pages on your website, so having specific pages that have constant updates on what is happening, what to expect, or even feedback forms that you can have your ambassadors or prospects alike fill in about your events or any initiatives that you're running. Clear calls to action and communications around digital events. So again, tap into what other institutions are doing in terms of their social media campaigns around their digital initiatives. There are so many things that we can use nowadays. Even as Kim mentioned earlier, TikTok is incredibly popular, and a lot of institutions have started using that as well. There's just so many channels that we could use, and there's a lot out there to kind of help us build on that. Personalized communication, like we said earlier, peer-to-peer is so important, but it's so important because there is that real desire to have human connection. So make sure that communication is all personalized and simplified as well for prospects and student ambassadors alike. And anticipate student concerns around coronavirus, but also remember their concerns too. So they may have issues or concerns around coronavirus, but there is a lot more that can worry students when it comes to going to university. A lot of students who are coming from abroad have never left home. So first time leaving home, living in a different country, in a different circumstance. Make sure that there is some flexibility around there, and that, again, you're constantly communicating to students and learning from the ambassadors and from the insights that you get from the platforms that you use in terms of what it is prospects are looking for.
I really love that. I really, think it's key to remember that students are students before they're just worried about COVID and stuff. So I remember having tons of worries and questions before applying. So, really target those questions as well as the COVID ones, because, the intuitive thing to do would be just to talk about COVID and what is changing. But, before that, students need to know what it's actually like going to study at uni. It's a big step. So I think it's really important to remember that.
Definitely.
So thank you so much for listening, everybody. We're super keen to answer any other questions on any topic, really, especially live events, and to hear what you guys are doing. And yeah.
Feel free to pop some questions into the chat, and then we'll pick them up and answer them between us. Great. So we've had a question come through from Raman. What recommendations do you have to get students involved with any events or live events? That's a really good question. So if we're talking about student ambassadors here, there's a lot of things that a lot of our customers have done in terms of incentivizing them. So incentivizing them with rewards, maybe if it's a meal or a voucher, getting them involved to take part, or even having that as part of their payment scheme as ambassadors. What other thing you could do as well is to make that particular live event student-led. So a lot of customers will have different events where you have a mix of student ambassadors and staff members talking in those events, for example. But what you can do, and I've seen some of the customers that I work with do, is have a student-led event where it's just the ambassadors talking to prospects and anyone who is joining that event.
I think also, just to add on this, I tell a lot of people I get on the phone that, students are really more than happy to talk about their uni and their experience. So most of the time, it's just a question of asking them to participate. So, and they're always really keen to do.
Definitely. Great.
Have some tips on advertising these events. So I think a big one would be social media. Use your social media presence, post about it. I don't know, Carolina, do you have other?
Yeah, what we've seen a lot recently, and again, going back to that kind of personal touch and that human connection in terms of what peer-to-peer is all about, is a lot of our customers using their Instagram pages or their Facebook or LinkedIn live page as well, where they've almost done a humans of ambassadors, so kind of having ambassador stories, so doing profiles on individual ambassadors. So maybe 1 week they showcase 2 of the ambassadors. So if you have an ambassador called Carolina and another ambassador called Alice studying different courses, they've showcased both of those ambassadors with them either taking over their Instagram live or recording some content that they then shared on their Instagram pages or across their Facebook pages. We've also seen on their actual pages with their platforms a little bit more of a story that takes them straight through to the ambassadors, and again learning from each other in terms of what they're using. Cool.
I think having an alumni event on the question, and to follow up with that, do you recommend asking the alumni to take part in these events? And if so, how would you ask them to join? I think it's great to have a specific focused event. We've talked a lot about this, to having regular, smaller and focused events. So it's always great to have that on a channel, on one event, for example.
Yeah. And I think as well with alumni, so many of them want to get back involved, with the university. If they sign up to be an alumni for that particular university, it's because they want to get involved, and sharing that kind of experience that they had at the university is just so great. And also a lot of this alumni will not have had that same opportunity. They may not have been an ambassador, or they may not have had access to these kind of events where they are speaking to other ambassadors, and because of that they may be even more eager to get involved. Like Alice said at the beginning of the workshop, I would have loved as an international student to have had this option, and that probably makes me even more passionate about working with it now. So I think that's, they definitely want to get involved, and that's a great way to tap into them. Great. I think the question that Kim's posted here is, what are your views on social media takeover by students? From our end, I think that's worked really well for the customers that we've worked with, but we'd be really keen to hear from those of you that are attending today what you think that would look like for your institutions.
I'd love to hear if any of you have also experimented with TikTok, student takeover TikTok, and would love to hear how that is going.
Yeah, definitely.
Like a good deal.
It looks like a good deal, definitely. That's great. Perfect. And I guess another question for you guys on the session. You've mentioned that you've been working with ambassadors already. How do you currently reward them? So Joe's mentioned that all ambassadors are classed as staff and therefore get paid. But how have you been rewarding your ambassadors in different ways.
While we wait for some of the answers there, I do get a lot of partners that use and want to use their scholarship students, because that's a good, you know, they get a scholarship to go to the school and stuff, so they can be really great representatives for the school, and they're always really keen to do so. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, that's definitely good. There are a lot of customers that I work with as well that just maybe don't have the budget to be able to pay their students, and don't not only offer it as a scholarship, but maybe even an internship role, or give them some responsibility that can then go onto their CV afterwards, and have those transferable skills that they can use in future. Another really fun incentive that I've seen customers offer is free merchandise, right? We all love free hoodies or free bottles. And in one particular case, there's a customer who gives out free university socks, which are all coloured, which is just fabulous. Thinking about the cold times coming, having something warm on your feet is important, isn't it? Yeah, as Kim said, merchandise is definitely keen, and students love that. So I think there's lots of ways, again, that you can incentivize your ambassadors without needing to pay them. And there's lots of tips that we have on our blogs, on our website at Unibuddy. And again, if you do have any questions, then feel free to reach out to us. You can find us on LinkedIn, or you can even chat to us through the main event as well. Great. Yeah, the socks are definitely a huge hit. Fabulous. So thank you all so much for listening.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been a great workshop session. So great to see so many people interact, especially for us on our side. It's really early, so
yeah. For all of you who are early birds like us today, definitely make sure you have your coffee ready to go. We have a lot of sessions coming up over the day. And like I said, there's a lot more content available on our platform on the event, and feel free to directly message us by going back onto the homepage of the event and searching for us under the staff section, and we'd be happy to answer any of your questions. Thank you so much. Bye.